Hello everyone, Timothy here. Today is Saturday, November 14th, and it was the day of the protest in Bristol. Sort of the disagreement with the current rules and regulations from the government for COVID-19. And so I came in attendance, was invited down. I prepared a speech or a talk for the crowd. You know, at a rally, the people are in questioning what's going on. They've come together, they've gathered, but there were no speakers. The police were stopping anyone with speakers, basically. And then, so we just, rather than normally you stop at the start, you have some talkers, they come give speeches, and then you go for a march at the end. And I feel like this is a fair right that humans in a country should have. If they're in disagreement with something with the law, we have to, demonstrate that we disagree and come together in the physical rather than just this online fake, maybe not fake, but this online world that we've kind of almost been stuck in right now. It's nice to show human solidarity and togetherness. Though I understand that a lot of these gatherings are very, very emotionally and fear charged, and I've been at many in the past, and I've definitely talked with, even recently in Birmingham, I talked there, and my message, though I know my intention, it's like everyone knows their intention, was not the most harmonious with love, in a sense. It was still quite divisive, and that is something I'm certainly trying to work on. I'm a human that's very fallible with my own issues, but I'd prepared a talk for today, and to deliver to the people, the crowd of gathered souls that were equally all in disagreement with what's going on. And so I wanted to give my perspective on what should be done, but try and come from a balanced place, because I see a lot of people are quite agitated, and like I say, in a fear-based emotion. And so I wanted to address that, but alas, no chance to speak at this event. So I thought I'd just capture it, because I prepared it for a few days, in the sense that I had my bullet points on my hands. It's kind of washed off now, but I also had some notes. But essentially, I want to talk about truth, because if you're watching this, you're probably a truth seeker. I think all humans, at some level, are truth seekers, but some people kind of just accept everything they've been given as truth. Some people kind of question more and think there might be deeper truths, more truths. Often they say the truth will set you free, which I do agree with. And the other truth quote is, truth hurts, which I disagree with. What hurts when you hear a truth is the release of the error that you currently held on to, the error that you believed. The releasing of that is what hurts, not the truth itself. Truth will always set you free. It will always bring you happiness in the long run to live in truth. And so as a truth seeker, I want to know the truth about COVID, right? And I think we all do. And some of us just accept the mainstream narrative as truth. Some of us accept other narratives as truth. But truly, no one, other than maybe, at a really high level, knows the actual truth of COVID, right? Is there a virus? Isn't a virus? We can debate or whatever, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. The truth that we know is there is sickness, that humans fall ill. That is a truth we can all agree on. Now, there was sickness before COVID, and there's going to be sickness after COVID. But what we have here in this mass hysteria and what's gone on is we're focused on the effect of sickness and not the cause, which is just what we've done as society for years. What the government propagates is for us to focus on effects rather than the cause. And what is the cause? What is the cause of sickness? Now, I've done so much soul searching on this, so much experimenting, so much trials and observations in my own life, and practicing different belief systems, practicing lots of different things. And for me, it's come to the acknowledgement, the realization that sickness is a product of kind of an injury in the soul. So the body is like an appendage, of the soul, this is in my learnings, and what's starting to make sense and really start to resonate as truth, right? The body is an appendage of the soul, and if we focus just on the body, we're just focusing on the effects of the sickness. Whereas when we focus on healing the soul, which we'll get into, is you can then heal it at the cause level, at the root of what's going on. And so the soul, the language of the soul is emotions. It's kind of the software that the soul runs under. And when we have, all of us when we were children from conception, have a lot of injuries at some stage from our childhood where we didn't express a true emotion. And if you see children, they feel an emotion, they are so free, they will flow, they live in emotion constantly. And they don't judge the emotion that they feel either. Until they get to a certain age, from a parent or school or friends, at some point, people learn to judge their own emotions, which then creates resistance, which then helps them to stop feeling their emotions. So when we don't feel our emotions, this becomes stored in the body, in the physical, where it happens in the soul, but then the physical is a manifestation of that. So sickness is in the body, is the soul communicating to let us know that there is sickness going on, that there is something that needs to be healed at an emotional level. It's why children heal fast. Children don't hold on to things. Children let things go. As adults, we hold on to these emotions. We misplace emotions. We layer over emotions, so we don't have the root emotion, so yes, and to my next point. So with that said, there are laws in place in this universe, one of which, there's a law of cause and effect, which we focus on effects rather than the cause. And if you focus on the cause, the effect will go away, right? That's a law. The law of attraction is one that many of us have heard of, the law of attraction. Now, those that focus on law of attraction and have just heard of it in a whim may think that it's about, oh yeah, you think about money and you get money, right? You've seen The Secret or whatever. But anyone that's practiced it knows that's not how it works. Anyone that's gone deeper into research or into their own experiments with it, which is what I encourage more than research, try things out, is they know that it's the emotion attached to this. And this is why affirmations don't work for so many people, because they say, I'm rich, or I'm healthy. But in their soul, they know they're not. And so they're not living in truth. They're not honest with themselves. And it would be better in that scenario to say, I am sick, I am poor, and feel what emotion that makes you feel, rather than to be lying intellectually, but in your soul you know the opposite. So then you're not living in harmony with the truth. And so if you dig even deeper with the law of attraction, it doesn't just work with kind of the desires, the material things. What law of attraction is working with constantly is emotions, as we just addressed, right? So what it is doing, it is bringing about, the law of attraction brings about scenarios in your life for you to feel the true emotion, the root emotion that you need to feel to release, to let go of that, to heal the soul. And this is why the same things happen to us often, so over and over again in our lives. So people get the same boyfriend or girlfriend, like the same scenario happens. They cheated on me and then they get another one, they cheat, or someone keeps cutting you up in traffic, or people are rude to you behind the counter or something. The law of attraction is bringing you about those scenarios so that you can feel the emotion that you need to feel to release it. So it's conspiring in your favor to help you. But if we don't recognize this, then we never release it. And if we also judge the emotion, we resist it. If we cover up the emotion, something like anger is a cover-up emotion. Something that I witnessed here that I felt within myself is a rage of injustice, as someone pointed out to me recently. It's a rage of injustice, and I see so many people in the crowd chanting shame at the police. And I'm glad I came here today to witness it with a deeper's perspective of where I feel I'm at now, because I felt the same frustration, but with a new understanding. And not just an intellectual understanding of this, I feel it emotionally now. That is not how we get to a solution to change this, to just create this divide between the people and the police. So I'm speaking this for those truth seekers, those people that are at the protests, that are at the marches, is we need to, if you're really a truth seeker, then the ultimate is, well, not the ultimate, but one is to start to look at the truth of ourselves. That is where it starts to get harder. We're very good at identifying injustice between him and or those people, I can see the injustice and I don't like it. Or if someone does injustice to us, you know, we're very aware there as well, for the most part, unless they're meeting our own emotional addictions. Oh yeah, well, they do that to me, but they give me that. So then I'll turn a blind eye to it, you know. So they're the two levels, right? The first two levels is an injustice between two people, we see it, or an injustice between someone to us. Now what gets a bit deeper is an injustice from us to ourselves is something that we find harder to spot. And we may be less honest about, right? And then even deeper than that, an injustice from us to another person, an unloving act, right? So that's what's even harder to spot, is when we do it to someone else, we're the last to see it often. And so when I'm seeing these people chanting at the police, creating more divide, and really starting to truly emotionally understand how that is not helping the scenario. I understand it, and like from a spiritual perspective, yeah, we go, yeah, of course it's not helping, you're creating division. But how do we get from the place of feeling that rage of injustice inside us to not feeling it and just feeling love and try to help? And when we speak to a police officer from a place of truly the emotional place of a loving place, not just the intellectual, I need to be loving in this, where condescension will still sneak into the way we deliver it. And I'm someone who's completely guilty of that, of sort of arrogance or self-righteousness, where I feel like I'm trying to be loving and deliver a loving message, but the soul, the emotion in the soul is the subconscious, or whatever you want to call it, that is driving the conversation, that is always going to come out because it's running, it's the software, it's running faster than I can intellectually try and control it. And so trying to speak to the police officers today and from an understanding place, and then people are over your shoulder shouting, shame on you, shame on you. This is not how we help people, and neither side is right in this scenario. We all want the best, but we're all just fighting what I recognize is from our own childhood traumas, it appears to be, where we're projecting an emotion. So the rage of injustice is a cover-up for something maybe from my childhood where injustice was done to me, and so it's a defense mechanism to fight back or something. So I see someone else doing it to someone and I want to stand up for it, rather than raging at home or like punching a punching bag or a bed or something, and until the root emotion lower than the anger, which is coming from the fear, appears, which could be some sadness or some powerlessness, or, you know, unworthiness, or something, some root emotion in me that I once felt that has then caused my facade self to protect me, to survive in the world that we live in, had to come into existence to protect me. But I need to recognize the resistance in me, recognize the projection onto others, and then start to internally feel that at the root level to release it. And on that, the note of emotion, trying to release emotional traumas, another way to do it is to recognize addictions. Now, I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of addictions in the day, bigger addictions, more obvious addictions, mini addictions. And what I've noticed is, and what I've learned, and when I've practiced it, it's helped so much, is to recognize that the addiction. And for me, one recently that I dealt with was sugar, or is sugar, you know. And so after every meal, I'd want a sugary treat. And I didn't recognize it. You just think it's dessert. It's normal for everyone to have a dessert after. But I recognized that if I didn't have the sugary treat, I'd feel quite emotional, maybe quite angry. That's often quite an obvious sign, is if you feel anger, then you're not getting your addiction met. And so I decided, because I recognized that this was emotional injury at a soul level that I wanted to deal with, that I would go for this always like a sugary treat for dessert, was to eat my meal, which I recognized was from a loving place, to eat a wholesome meal that made me feel healthy. And then once I finished the meal, I recognized my desire to eat the sugary treat was not harmonious with love. It was a deeper, more, like I could feel it's coming from trauma, a more traumatized place. And that this could be cigarettes for people, it could be alcohol, it could be weed, plant medicines, it could be sport, exercise. I recognize exercise as well. I'll talk about that another time. Exercise is a addiction that is not serving many of us potentially. So there's just a challenge, an experiment to put into your own life, is recognizing if you have an addiction that could be like any of the things I've mentioned. Try not giving it to yourself. see what emotion arises and see if you can sit with that emotion. If that means you have to cry, if that means you have to scream, whatever, recognize that you are not in serving your kind of truest self in that action, that daily action, that diction that you're doing. And so I start to recognize it myself and apply this principle and just to experiment and see how that's changed things for me. So just going to my notes here. Yeah. So as I said, we're truth seekers. We want to. The ultimate is to seek the truth about ourselves and see things that we maybe don't want to see. And so for me, recognizing that there is arrogance in me, there is self-righteousness, and so that's the first stage of recognizing it. And then, okay, I can intellectually avoid doing that, or I can try to deal with the emotion that is causing me to do that. And when I can deal with the emotion at the root level, then I will no longer act that way, and I won't have to. It won't take discipline to not act that way, and that's the greatest thing of all. Is we will just actually be loving beings and be able to. Other people will be able to feel that from us, because emotions is the true language that's going on between people. What they feel, not what is said and intellectually discussed. And that was it, really. You got to break through the soul, because this is soul development, and this is how we develop our soul. We heal it from these traumas that we carry around from our childhood, that we project into every relationship that we attract these scenarios in our life to help us to heal. So it's time to start listening to those signs, recognize, grow up in a way, evolve, humble ourselves. I learned that humility is an organ of the soul, and that we can, and I think that was beautiful to understand that. And so humility is something certainly to work on for me. Yeah. So that is just something I wanted to share. That was part of my speech. I don't know how I would have delivered it. It probably would have changed a bit. But a lot of the teachings that I'm sharing are from divine truth. Divine meaning as it pertains to God. So if you wanted to dig deeper into anything that I've shared today, look into Divine Truth on YouTube. I've been enjoying that stuff, and I've been applying it for about a year now in my life and experimenting, and I'm starting to see, as I've gone deeper with it and start to emotionally engage it, slight transformations in myself, and then how the world is interacting with me because of that. So yeah, if you want to dig deeper, Divine Truth, check it out. Much love to you all. Peace.